This week's episode of the Run, Eat, Drink podcast is brought to you by listeners like you. Head on over to patreon.com/Run, Eat, Drink podcast and subscribe today. Fans, founders, and insiders like you help us keep the Run, Eat, Drink podcast going, and we thank you for your support.
Hello, this is Marco Cesero, and welcome to Run, Eat, Drink podcast.
Welcome to the Run, Eat, Drink podcast. We feature destination races from across the country. And after the race, we take you on a tour of the best local food and beverage to celebrate. So whether you are an elite runner or a back of the packer like us, you'll know the best places to accomplish, explore, and indulge on your next runcation. Hey, welcome to episode 175 of the Run, Eat, Drink podcast. I'm your host, Amy.
And I'm your co-host, Dana.
Coming to us remotely from the one, the only, the home of the Daytona 500.
Daytona Beach, Florida.
Yeah.
I am our intrepid field reporter this week.
Yes. Have you found us some great food and beverage options?
Actually, I have.
Really?
There are a couple of spots here that I'm very eager to try once we have finished the 75 hard challenge.
Really?
So we now have some additional reasons to come up this way. Not to mention the fact that we're pretty close to the Jacksonville area once you're this far north and on the east coast of Florida. So, as we are either going to or coming from the Donna when we head to do the Donna
there you go.
half marathon weekend, I think that we could probably have an excuse to take a detour and come through Daytona Beach on our way home or on our way up.
That sounds good to me. I support that.
I'm once again traveling for work, and I'm literally a stone's throw from the Daytona International Speedway. Anybody that followed along on the Couch to 5K program a few weeks ago, that we finished a few weeks ago, came along with me while I was literally running in the parking lot of the Daytona International Speedway.
You never got into the Speedway. Are you going to try?
I actually, through the class here that I'm attending, they are going to be arranging a tour. So I'm going to get the opportunity. I'm hopeful that I may be able to get one of my classmates to take a photo or some video of me jogging on the track. We'll see.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Depends on what they'll let us do.
Speaking of that 5K, that program, that Couch to 5K program, we are going to recap a run that was on the tail end of that. That was not the culminating run, but the one a couple of weeks post-program tonight, the Freedom 5K. We're going to recap. We have a couple of local races that we like to do down in our area of Southwest Florida, and the Freedom 5K is one of those, and we're going to get to talk about this. And it's a great opportunity for those that might want to do a summer vacation in Southwest Florida to plan to come down and maybe celebrate our nation's Independence Day and start that celebration off with a 5K bridge run. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then I believe that we're going to go back north to the Orlando area for our food, are we not? We are. We had, what do you call it, an embarrassment of riches?
Yes.
And I think Danny agrees, if you hear her in the background, that we had an embarrassment of riches as far as plant-based eating options at Walt Disney World, the Walt Disney World Resort.
And that's not a sentence I ever thought I would hear you or anybody else utter.
Right.
So the fact that we're able to give our listeners who are into plant-based eating some options when they go vacationing at Disney World, I think is a fantastic service we're going to be providing this week.
It's awesome. And this place gave us so many options. We had to have
a few things from the menu, including beverages.
Yes. Again, we don't do this too often, but we've done it a couple of times here lately where we do the food and beverage in the same place.
Mm-hmm.
And Skipper Canteen offered us an opportunity to do that. And this is going to be a non-alcoholic offering.
Yes. And I really do have to thank Greg in Orlando. That's his Instagram handle. Greg in Orlando actually said, this is a place you got to check out if you're eating plant-based, if you can get in. Very popular.
Right.
But we were able to get in.
And we'll talk about the challenges of that as well.
Yeah. So without further ado, shall we talk running?
Yeah, let's talk running. But before we get into the race, let's give everybody your training update. How is post weekly TheraBeast visits? How's that treating you?
Well,
let everybody know what's up.
I should be doing, honestly, more strength training than I am. I should be. We had like a little mishap with the Bosu ball where we had to get it exchanged.
It's back now, though.
It's back now, so I should get back on the Bosu ball and do some balance exercises and some strengthening of my quads, hamstrings, overall strength in the hips. I need to get back to those exercises. I've been woefully under training those muscles. And I'm still, as a part of the 75 Hard Challenge, we have 2 workouts a day. And I have been incorporating the drills that Jeff Galloway, America's coach and our coach, has sent me for homework. He sent me some cadence drills. He sent me some acceleration gliders. He said, start with 2 each, a piece, in either your Tuesday or your Thursday short run. So I've actually been incorporating those when I'm walking the parking garage at work, when I'm under shade of the parking garage.
You're sharing those sessions occasionally on your live streams. I've seen you do that a couple of times.
Usually it's when I'm on my way back to work and I'm out in the hot sun and it's hard for me to see some of the comments on the phone. But yes, I have. I've been doing those, and then I have been jumping on a live chat with people just to check in, and it's nice to have the cover of the parking garage to combat the afternoon showers, so I don't have to be outside, get soaked, and then go back to work. But I do have a poncho in my bag, so I can deal with that if I need to. But I'm lucky enough to have the parking garage, so I can get there and I can do a little bit of very light hill work, I would say. Very, very light hill work. And then
using the elevation of the parking garage as your hill.
Yeah, it's 5 stories. So I walk up and down the parking garage, and then the part that's under cover that's a really long stretch I'll use for cadence drills and acceleration gliders to kind of get my form back to where it needs to be. So acceleration gliders, you have 30 seconds and you count either the left or the right foot, and you start with 10 walking steps, and then you get 10 shuffling steps, and then you get 10 more where you start to elevate your pace. You get up to kind of race pace, and then you glide. You let that momentum carry you through the rest of the 30 seconds. And that's an acceleration glider, and it's supposed to help you with going in and out of your run, walk, run. And then the cadence drills are 30 seconds as well. And you're either counting your left or your right foot, and it's how many steps you can get in that 30 seconds, and you're hoping he's telling me between 40 and 50.
So the purpose of that acceleration glider is to work on the smoothness of your transition between your intervals.
Yes.
And the cadence drill is to get you actually quicker during your run interval.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's also, oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I've talked about that a little bit when I was doing the Couch to 5K with everybody, but you're living it. You're doing that's that's something you're incorporating into your training right now, which is good.
Yes. Yeah. So it's good. I think it also, what I was going to say was it helps my walking turnover as well.
Oh, yeah.
When I'm in the walking intervals, because that's where I am so tempted to slow down. And, you know, I mean, I'm walking, especially in later stages of the race, if I've gone out too fast, or if it's a hot and humid kind of race, it's, you know, the walking interval is like, oh gosh, it's a break, but you can't let your walk get so slow that it dramatically impacts your pace. So.
And it's easy to do if you're really tired, if you perhaps maybe you didn't train enough for the distance you're going to be running when you do, or you go out too hard and then you build up too much fatigue.
Yes. And
you end up walking too slow to the point where you create a pace deficit where you can't catch up no matter what you do in your run interval.
And these are things to think about.
Oh, it is. And that's the reason Jeff talks about the fact that from the beginning of the race, you do your walk intervals. Mm-hmm. And that's something a lot of people have a really hard time with.
I think it's part of his successful strategy that he teaches all of us, that he coaches or who read his book, Galloway's book on training, that it's better to walk up front and finish strong, run more at the end than at the beginning, and conserve those resources. So those drills are helping me do that by improving my form and my cadence. So that's what I'm focused on right now. And then the long runs are just starting to ramp up into the 5K range for me, because Jeff and I have been back and forth talking about my goal of 5Ks and 10Ks, and then ultimately his half marathon in December, and then Donna's half marathon in February of 2022, which many people registered for last week. And anybody who's listening to the podcast right now, marathon weekend, Walt Disney World Marathon registration day is the day of the release of this show. So may the force be with you. I hope you got into all the races you want so that you can get into the mindset where you can do those drills, follow those training plans from Jeff Galloway, and get to that finish line healthy, strong, and celebratory, rather than slowing down in your cadence, like we've talked
Absolutely.
about. So that is a little bit of my training update. And you have a race to discuss and future training to discuss.
Yeah, it's very rare that I have a race to discuss that doesn't involve you.
Because I was at work.
You were at work, so I was once again the Run Eat Drink Podcast's intrepid field reporter. And this race we're going to talk a little bit about is one that we've run. I want to say that we've been doing it for the last 3 years.
That's true.
If I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. It was postponed to October last year.
I was going to say it seems a little soon to be doing it again, but that's only because during 2020, the July 4th race didn't happen until almost the end of the year. So it came back around really quick. And this is the annual Freedom 5K that we have in Cape Coral that kicks off our day of celebration of Independence Day in our hometown. Mm-hmm. And this race is normally, pretty well attended. I would probably say in previous years when we've run it, we get, 400, 500 attendees, give or take. Yeah. It's usually very well attended by some of the local running groups, like our friends at the Cape Coral Running Group or the Fort Myers Speedsters.
Oh, yes.
Some of the other, groups that run out of the Fort Myers Track Club and the Run Shop in Cape Coral.
Yeah.
Well, this race is really pretty straightforward. It begins and ends at the base of the Cape Coral Bridge, basically. And the Cape Coral Bridge is about it's about a mile long, approximately a mile long bridge that spans the Caloosahatchee River, and it connects Cape Coral to Fort Myers. And this is a morning out and back run over the bridge.
It's beautiful.
It gives you a fantastic view of the Caloosahatchee River, the Cape Coral skyline, which we have a very suburban skyline, so it's mostly trees and houses with a very few slightly taller buildings. But you get a nice view of the downtown Fort Myers skyline off across the river and in the distance. And the race starts at 7:30 in the morning. It's started with a helicopter flyover and the national anthem, and then you're off to the run. And it really has very little flat at the beginning before you start on the uphill.
Just a little bit.
It's a pretty short flat portion at the beginning. Then you go right to the uphill. I actually have my Garmin with me right now, and I'm going to look for the elevation, because you gain 129 feet in elevation in the first about the first 3/4 of a mile. So, I mean, it's a pretty good climb. I set out doing this one. I wanted to do let me back up. During the Couch to 5K program that I live streamed with everybody, I was doing a very conservative 5-second run, 25-second walk interval, because the idea was to get that very beginner runner off the couch and moving and kind of get them ready for a pace that if they ever wanted to go to do a Disney race, Disney tends to say the course time limit is 16 minutes a mile. Now, they don't normally time the 5Ks, but the 5Ks tend to lead to runners wanting to do the 10Ks and the half marathons, and maybe the marathons, and you have to maintain a 16-minute per mile pace. So we wanted to train for that minimum 16-minute a mile pace. And if you followed along with the program, and then you follow along with the race that we did for that, we actually did a race up in Tampa for Father's Day. And we not only met that goal, we exceeded that goal, even doing a 5-second run or 25-second walk. Well, I wanted to do a little bit of a different interval, something a little bit more aggressive, but still something that was very approachable. And what I elected to do for this race was to do a 15-second run and a 45-second walk.
15:45.
15:45. Was my interval.
That is a 3-to-1.
It's a 3-to-1 ratio. So I was a little more aggressive. So I did a little more running to the amount of walking that I was doing. I still wasn't running a crazy amount, and I modified it a little bit. I actually elected, what I decided to do was I would do the intervals like that, 15:45 on the flat, and then on the uphill, I would turn that into just a walk. And then on the downhill, I would do the intervals or run a little bit more and give myself a little more freedom to run as much of the downhill as I was comfortable doing. But again, the whole idea is you want to save that gas in the tank for the end of the run. You don't want to smoke yourself going out and find yourself, dying at the end.
Puffing and puffing and
Exactly. And doing that, doing the out and back over the bridge, I ended up with a total time of 41 minutes and 10 seconds, which averages out to a 13-minute 4-second per mile pace.
With a hill work. I mean, like a massive hill.
With massive hills, and again, walking the uphill. I walked the uphill, and I did not run the downhill to the point where I was huffing and puffing. I basically did just kind of a modified interval going down. I might have run 20 seconds on the downhill instead of 15, and then I'd do the walk interval. It wasn't crazy. I wasn't trying to do the entire downhill, nothing like that, because again, I wanted to be able to maintain a rate of breathing that if I needed to have a conversation with somebody, I could.
Yes.
And I wanted to, if I wanted to at the end, really be able to turn it on once it flattened back out. So I was able to do that, get a 13-minute, 4-second minute per mile pace, doing a 15:45 with a lot of walking on both uphill stretches. So it was a great way to illustrate the versatility of the Galloway run, walk, run method. This was a faster pace than we got in Tampa doing the 5:25. And I didn't feel smoked at the end. I was able to take photos with friends and talk to people. And this race was attended by, I want to say they said it was about 800 runners.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a much bigger event than they were initially anticipating. There was actually day of registration at this event. The event grew and it exploded because people were hungry for races that they could go and attend in person.
True.
And of course, your fast runners, your high school and college age kids that were out there, men and women were killing it. I mean, they were fast. And they're on their return lap as I'm basically cresting the hill on my first my trip out. So
your first pass of the bridge.
Yes. Yeah. They were just insanely fast. So
how was
kudos to them.
Yeah. How was the weather?
Well, the weather, was typical July in Florida. It was, of course, hot and muggy as you would expect. I'm
not ringing the bell because I don't want to alarm or alert Buck.
That's probably
he does not like it, and he will end up in my lap if I do. So, ding, 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 weather bell.
Yeah. The temperature actually at the start of the race was 81 degrees Fahrenheit. It climbed to 88 degrees within 41 minutes. So it's a 7-degree increase in temperature in 41 minutes. So you're basically gaining a degree every 6 minutes. That should tell you it was getting warm fast. And the humidity was absolutely no joke. I think I remarked on one of our live streams when we discussed this race a little bit in a live stream.
Yes.
That when you start out on the race, you're actually on the mainland of Cape Coral, and maybe you have a quarter mile before you get onto the bridge, if that. And the second you step off of the mainland onto the bridge, it's like there's a wall of steam projecting up from the ground.
Yeah.
And it's palpable. You could actually feel it. And it was like this invisible barrier where literally from this step you were feeling okay, the next step it was just sticky. And it stays with you. So it is a very, very humid race. There's no way around that.
It's July.
But
in Florida,
the price that you're paying in terms of the stickiness for the race, it is well worth the view.
It's
the view on that race is gorgeous.
It's
one of the
absolutely
prettiest
beautiful.
races we've run.
Yeah. I can remember the year you had your surgery. I ran that one by myself. And you came out and you were my cheer squad and support squad. And I can just, I remember taking a picture at the top of the bridge and sending to you because they are just gorgeous, the views. Now, you get a hill and if they didn't change the course, you get half of the overpass into Fort Myers. So you kind of get...
You actually get 2 hills.
So it's still the same.
It's still the same. The turnaround is on the top of the once you crest the hill, it flattens out, and then it leads to another to a small flyover of a roadway.
Yes.
And the turnaround is at the crest of that flyover. So you basically go up the second hill, you turn around, and you come back down. It flattens out, then you're back on the bridge. So the nice thing about this one, you can come to Cape Coral in the morning for this race. You can park, in and around the downtown area.
Yeah.
Which, plenty of on-street parking, plenty of available parking for the race participants.
Yeah.
You can run the race, be done, within 45 minutes to an hour, if you're a slower runner. And then, it sets you up for enjoying what Cape Coral has to offer in terms of food and beverage, of course, for brunch. And then if you're going to be in the Southwest Florida, in the area, we have so many things to offer in terms of celebrations for
So true.
Independence Day. Cape Coral has its own Red, White, and Boom celebration, which is basically a gigantic block party, and it's usually attended by about 40,000 people. Fort Myers Beach started their fireworks celebration back up. Downtown Fort Myers had its celebration. So regardless of where you choose to go, this is a great way to kick off that day of celebration of our Independence Day.
How was the post race? I mean, I know you said you talked with a lot of people, a lot of friends of the show and friends that you work with, and you got the chance to take pictures, but because the post race is usually, there's quite a spread because we have several local businesses that support that race.
Yes, this is put on by the Cape Coral Chamber of Commerce, and the businesses that are participants in the chamber did an amazing job of putting it together. They had a nice post-race food spread. Of course, you have all of your regular water, and then your bananas, and they had food there available, and then they also had beer available as well.
At what? At 9 a.m.?
At 9 a.m. if you wanted to get a post-race recovery beer. And they had a nice little area set up to this either side of the Cape Coral Bridge is a small green space park called the Bernie Braden Memorial Park. And on one side, they had logistical prep for the celebration, because after this race finishes, they shut the bridge down completely for the rest of the day. And they put up a giant music stage. And then back there on the water, there are, I believe that's where they launched some of the fireworks from. So they actually have a no-go zone for boats under the bridge. This is basically your last opportunity to enjoy this area before it's shut down for the big party. And on the north side is where all the logistics are, and on the south side is where they had the post-race party for the runners and their friends. And it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was nice talking to people. I didn't, of course, get to partake in anything like that because we were in the midst or still in the midst of 75
no beer for you
at that point.
So proud, but
So
also,
but
didn't they have bananas or? Something.
Like I said, they had bananas and some
water.
I want to say pieces of bagel, and they had all the stuff that you would want for post race recovery. And I got a chance to meet up with Jessica from the coffee crew.
Yeah,
she was there running, so we got to take a photo right there at the start line. And it was a really, really nice race. This is one, again, I cannot recommend our area of Florida enough. Not only do we have a lot to offer in terms of natural beauty and places to go and things to do, we're also no more than about 2 or 3 hours, or basically a quick day trip to all the major sites, or most of the major sites in Florida. If you want to head over to the East Coast, we're 2 hours across Alligator Alley. If you want to scoot up to the Orlando area, we're about 3 hours from Orlando. We're an hour and a half to 2 hours from Tampa. We're 45 minutes from Sarasota. So it's a great part of the state to come if you want to kind of home base in Southwest Florida and then spread out and do some day tripping.
Yeah.
And this race,
nice.
the Freedom 5K, I'm very proud of the work that the Cape Coral Chamber, the president, Donna Germain, and her team did to get this race ready. Because basically, they didn't have as long to prepare this one. Since they did last year's race in October, July race ended up being pushed to October.
Yep.
They had to turn right around and start prepping for this race with fewer months to get it done, and they did an amazing job.
They did. They did an amazing job with the October one that was postponed. That was a little smaller and in a different location, but
they did.
It was, but every year they do an incredible job.
They did, and this is the shirt that you get for this is fantastic. You did get a participant shirt. You get a bib. There are no medals. I believe that they did some awards for age groups.
Yeah, I got one in October.
Yeah, but there's no finisher medal. But you're also not getting killed on the race entry fee for this. I want to say it was about $30 or $35 for race entry. So it was very reasonable. And you got a nice little goodie bag and a tote. So, again, for what you paid, this was a great event. And I know that there was an associated charity to go along with this as well. And, they also, I know that they benefit. I want to say it's the Gunterberg Charitable Foundation.
Yes.
And I don't know if
the Brotherhood of Heroes also.
Brotherhood of Heroes Museum. So that is... that's a veterans museum here in Cape Coral.
Oh, and also Special Operations Communicators Association.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So
one thing people may not know about our city is that we are a Purple Heart city. We have a rich history and a large population of veterans here in Cape Coral. Those that have recently separated from the armed services, as well as those that may have served in 20, 30, 40 plus years ago. So we have a rich military veteran history here.
Yeah. Well, even though I didn't do that race, all your talk of it has made me hungry.
Well, I do what I can.
So, shall we talk about food and beverage from, like you said, from 3 hours away?
Why, yes. Yes, we can. Because we, like you said, we did have an embarrassment of riches when we were up in the area of Disney a couple of weeks ago. Or actually, this was more than just a couple of weeks ago, but we were on a quest. We were on a mission to find some plant-based options.
Yes.
And Amy, through her sleuthing, and some help from Greg in Orlando.
Oh yeah,
was able to find us some amazing options.
I was just glad he tipped me off to it so I could just keep looking and looking and looking for a reservation, and finally snagged one on a Saturday evening a couple of hours before the park closed. So,
do you have any secret or tips for people trying to get dinner reservations at the sit-down restaurants in the Disney parks?
I say you check all the time and often, but a lot of the time people are in the evening, they're off from work, they're relaxing, and then they're thinking about when they're going to go on vacation and talking with friends and family members who are going to be a part of their trip. And they're going, oh, maybe we'll rejigger this, or maybe we'll cancel this and book this instead. So I would say in the evening, check the My Disney Experience app or the website to see if anybody canceled something that you can pick up.
Good call.
Yeah.
That is good advice.
So Skipper Canteen.
Yeah, so this is a place I didn't know much about.
No.
Because I'm a bad Disney fan. I'm not good at it.
Why do you say that? We just don't go to the Magic Kingdom a lot.
I was going to say, we don't attend the Magic Kingdom very often. And even when I did, we have historically not really been too big on the sit-down restaurants in the parks.
Well, usually we'll save our meal for going to Disney Springs and sitting down there. You are a huge fan of Raglan Road, which is so hard to pass up every time we're there.
We've been there once or twice.
Right? So this time, I think this whole 75 hard challenge has allowed us to get out of the comfortable favorites that we go to a lot of the time when we were outside this program, this 75 hard.
Yeah, it's encouraged us to do some exploration.
Yeah. So Skipper Canteen is themed after the Jungle Cruise ride.
And this
in
I
Adventureland.
love this.
Yeah.
I love this. There's something about this kind of theme that when you think of Disney's Jungle Cruise, you think of
Adventure.
Explorers in khakis, and I get this vision of Teddy Roosevelt in a pith helmet, and
Oh my God.
With his rifle slung over his shoulder, and on a boat, and it's just very pulpy and very and nostalgic's not the right word because I didn't live through that era, but it kind of reminds you of those high adventure pulp novels and radio serials and TV shows.
Yeah.
And the closest thing for people our age to really kind of relate to would be like Indiana Jones.
Yes.
And the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
True enough. So I love how the cast members are so in character. Because
yes, we were getting a little bit of a comedy routine.
Yes, our hostess was talking about some of the statues and memorabilia. I put that in quotation marks as we are heading to our table and making jokes about that. And I don't even exactly remember the jokes. I just remember her manner and her personality being funny. And
she offered to show us some of the highlights of the restaurant, and then she pointed at the chandeliers.
Oh, yeah. You were... Yes, I remember now. So there it is. That's it. It was so funny. She was funny. She was in character. I just remember them being so in character and making that a part of the experience. And it was great. And then we had amazing appetizers and entrees.
Yeah, we did. I was shocked that we were able to get the quantity and quality of food from here that was all plant-based.
Ooh,
and
yes.
When we started looking at the items, I mean, these are things that I would normally order anyway, whether I'm doing the 75 hard or I'm going plant-based or not. So let's start with the appetizer, because this was right up my alley.
Fall's Family Falafel. My English teacher heart is singing for this.
You love the alliteration.
Alliteration, yes. A secret recipe of chickpeas, garlic, onions, lemon juice, and herbs with house-made edamame hummus and toasted pumpkin seeds.
Yeah. Now, there's a lot going on here. First of all, I love falafel. To me, there is nothing better than you get a nice crispy falafel that's fried and put on a pita with shredded lettuce and tomato and maybe some a looser hummus maybe as a sauce on that, or some tahini. Oh, that would be fantastic. But that's not how they prepared this. This was like a little work of art coming to the table.
Yes, it was. I loved that there was a blue plate, And then it was the hummus, that lighter brown color of the hummus with oil and the pumpkin seeds strewn everywhere. And there's also, it doesn't say this in the description, there are radish slivers all around. And it says there are herbs. It looks, they're strewn on the plate, and the plate is dusted with what looks to be a red spice.
That's going to be your paprika.
That was the paprika. And when I've had falafel in the past, they have been bigger rounds. Like when we had a falafel burger at Danger before a couple of years ago.
Yes.
That burger, it was like a flat patty falafel type thing.
Yeah, typically they're about the size of a kind of a flattened out hush puppy.
Yeah. This was more like a rounded hush puppy size. So, and there were 1, 2, 3, 4, there were 5 of them. And the layers of texture alone, the crunchy outer coating, and the hummus and the crunchy pumpkin seeds, the spice and bite of the radish, and the oil, it all came together to create a perfect little smoky, little bit of a bite. It was delicious.
Oh yeah, I'm with you 100%. The falafel, when done right, has this beautiful crispy outer, almost like outer shell or outer layer that's crunchy, and then the interior is creamy, and it's almost got a meaty consistency and an umami kind of flavor. And it's usually, the spices, normally the herbs in there is going to have parsley. It's going to have garlic. It's going to have onions. They even say garlic, onions, lemon. That is very, very traditional. But then you get the smokiness from cumin and paprika. And I was shocked at how much I liked the edamame hummus.
Yeah. But
what a neat variety or twist on hummus.
Yes. Yeah. But you could still tell it was hummus. It was just a different bean. A different bean, slightly different, but still that same flavor, that texture that you've come to expect.
So you got the creaminess from that hummus. You get the crunch from the outer crust of the falafel. You've got the little nuttiness from the pumpkin seed, and you've got the crisp, like you said, kind of that bite from radish.
Yeah, it's like nature's spice. Vegetables.
I love this.
Spice. It was great. I would have it again. It was a big appetizer for $10.
It was a big appetizer for 2 people, too.
Let's be honest. Disney has elevated prices, but there's also elevated experience, and this was an elevated appetizer to me.
It was, but you know what? I've ordered falafel from food trucks and from little mom and pops, and $9-10 for an appetizer this size.
Yeah,
that was actually good value for the money.
Yeah. But then we had fantastic entrees.
We did, and we went 2 totally different directions.
Yeah. So let's start with yours.
Okay. I went, I'm a huge fan of curry. I like Thai curries. I like Indian curry, you name it. And this is leaning more towards a Thai curry. And this was a curried vegetable crew stew. This is $19. And the description says, a favorite of the seasonal vegetables and pineapple tofu in a house-made curry sauce served with coconut rice. And this is a plant-based option.
Of course.
So the description had me thinking that this was going to be this
stew.
Yeah, like a thick soup, with vegetables in it. And I was expecting, maybe, what I was expecting wasn't what I got, but what I was expecting was soft vegetables and a thick, creamy broth with maybe some pineapple soaked tofu, stirred in. Mm-hmm. Not what I got at all. This was very clearly well thought out, and they made a point to really accentuate each item. So you had the fresh cooked vegetables that still had a lot of crunch and bite to them. So, you had your mixture of, broccoli and green beans and peppers and carrots, everything that would be in the quote unquote stew, that's cooked properly. And then they have this wonderful, rich, light reddish orange curry sauce poured over that. Mm-hmm. And then in that mix is these chunks of tofu that have been, my best guess is that they've been marinated in pineapple juice and then flash fried. Because the tofu chunks were crunchy, and you got just a hint of pineapple, nothing too sweet. They didn't go overboard, but it gave you a nice textural element in addition to that hint of pineapple, which went very nicely with the coconut rice. Oh, so yes. This was like a medium grain rice that was a high starch content rice, so it was still sticky. Ooh. And it's probably cooked with coconut milk or coconut cream. So you had this flavor of natural coconut, you had this hint of pineapple, and then you had this creaminess of the curry sauce over these vegetables. So you could put together the perfect bite and get a little bit of vegetables, a little bit of the rice, a piece of the tofu, and you're off to the races. It was phenomenal. For $19 at
I love
Disney,
that.
Great price, huge portion. I again, if I wasn't even eating plant-based, this is something that would catch my eye, and I would gravitate towards it. And I actually liked their semi-deconstructed presentation of it better than what I was envisioning, because what I was envisioning was much more of a thick stew with a mound of rice in the middle, which I have actually seen in some places. I've seen it served that way, and that's fine. But what ends up happening with those types of preparations typically is the vegetables get a little overcooked. And in this case here, you still had all of the bite and the freshness of the vegetables was preserved. So this was a winner, hands down. I would get it again, even when we're not on a plan.
I like that it came with that bread.
Oh yeah,
right. That I mean, what doesn't look like bread, but it looks like a pita pocket that has veggies cooked in it. But all I wanted was to have the tofu that you had in my dish that I had. Not that mine wasn't, because mine was amazing. Mine was so good. Just, spoiler alert.
Tell us about your dish.
But the crusted and flash fried tofu that you had, woo! Oh yes. So I had the Perkins Thai noodles, and this was $25. This was tofu, not flash fried or, that. But it was tofu, seasonal vegetables, rice noodles tossed in a spicy soy chili garlic sauce, a favorite of our friend Pamelia Perkins, Adventurers Club president. And of course, it is plant-based and indicated that on the menu, and you could get it with chicken upon request instead of tofu. So I just loved it. The rice noodles were cooked perfectly. The vegetables, they had just like there were, it was like matchsticks. They were matchsticks, so they went really well with the noodles. And it was carrot, it was squash, it was zucchini, it was red onion. And then we had microgreens on the top. And on the bottom was where that amazing sauce, that soy, that chili. It was not super spicy, but it had that saltiness from the soy, and just the chili gave the spice, the noodles, and then the tofu plus the crunchy vegetables had layer upon layer of different textures. I could just drink that sauce. I mean, soy, chili, garlic, yes. Yes. Yeah. It was amazing.
Now, this to me reminded me of it is not a pad thai.
No.
So if you're looking for pad thai, this is not the dish. This is a nod to pad thai.
It's a nod to pad thai. Yes.
It has some similarity, but I think that soy chili garlic sauce is almost what you would get in a street noodle.
Yes. So it's a cross between pad thai and a street noodle.
Yeah, but you got this right. I love
perfect.
The rice noodles you would get in pad thai is what you got in this dish.
I love those noodles.
And you're a huge fan of pad thai.
I love it. I love it. I'm telling you. So good. So good. So I would have this again, no doubt. When we're not on the 75 hard, I'd like to see how the chicken impacts the swap of chicken for tofu.
I think the chicken in that dish would be amazing.
I imagine that it would. And I look forward to returning and having it that way.
Yeah, because your tofu, unlike mine, yours was not fried. Yours was more sautéed, right?
Yes, that's what it appeared to be to me.
Yeah, mine actually had like a crust on it.
Yes,
so
which was delightful.
It was.
So I would definitely come back to Skipper Canteen for any of these dishes.
Oh yeah. Now, okay. So here's my question: Would you get the plant-based version of these dishes even if you weren't on a plant-based plan? We're
yes.
good enough to pass that test.
Yes, I think so. You?
100%.
You have said that.
I have said it. I will order falafel anyway, regardless of whether we're on a plan or not.
Right.
And I love curry. So
sign me up. Sign me up.
I was kind of amazed at how much I enjoyed the pineapple tofu in mine. So I actually would
I think
not
you
even
thought it
want
was
them
going to
to
be
sub it out.
I think you thought it was going to be too sweet.
I thought it was going to be too sweet, or I thought it was going to be too mushy.
Yeah.
One or the other. And what they did a great job, and with yours too, the way that with those julienne or those matchstick vegetables that they did in yours weren't mushy.
No.
You had great texture.
I did.
In your dish. Now, I think that, I personally liked my tofu better than yours.
Of course. I understand that.
I just liked that crunchy element.
Yes.
So, but I mean,
I think your tofu would have suited my dish.
Oh, absolutely. They actually could have served that tofu. That tofu could be its own appetizer.
With with the soy chili garlic sauce on the side. How about that?
Like dipping sauce?
Mm-hmm. How about that?
Oh, that wouldn't be bad at all,
Funny.
Actually.
Disney.
Yeah, because
listen to us. Anyway, It was great. I would go back. It's a reason to visit the Magic Kingdom.
It really is. And with the new movie, Disney's Jungle Cruise, coming out, I suspect that this place is only going to get more and more popular and more frequently trafficked. So if you are looking at doing a Disney, if you're going to do a Disney trip anytime soon, get in there and get your reservations now, because they're not going to get easier to get.
Exactly.
But before we go on and get to the drink portion, we want to take a moment to thank all of our patrons of the show. You know, you guys have actually made it possible for us to continue to grow and expand in 2020 and now into 2021 at a rate we never, ever thought was going to be possible. And we cannot thank you enough for that.
Your contribution each month helps us continue to grow, helps us bring you a great show that will be full of races as we go back on the road, thanks to your support.
For the first time, we're going to be leaving Florida here in just a few short weeks. But, you know, we want to make sure that you guys are getting good value for your patronage. And if you go to patreon.com/runeatdrinkpodcast, we've got 3 levels of monthly support. $2, $5, or $10. Each of those levels have their own special perks that we're still tweaking, and adding to, and fixing in 2021. And we have been teasing it forever.
I know.
We are going to be introducing some advanced patronage levels as well.
Yes.
But we want to make sure that we get it right.
Yes.
So for now, check those 3 out.
Yes.
And for those levels, I mean, you get a lot of stuff.
You do. Patrons get a special thank you message regardless of their level from us. Insiders at the $10 level get a look behind the scenes, get access to exclusive video footage, have access to special interviews before they're released on the podcast feed. They get cooking demos from the Run Eat Drink Podcast Test Kitchen.
We're very hard at work in there.
And exclusive tastings of our favorite food and beverage, including bonus items from great places that didn't necessarily make it onto the show.
Right. But the show is always going to be free. But what we're wanting to do is give you a chance to get more Run Eat Drink podcast content. And if you want to get that content or just support the show long term, check us out, patreon.com/runeatdrinkpodcast.
Or if you use the Podbean app, you can tap on the reward button at the top right of the app to become a patron. All the same perks, all the same levels right there in the Podbean app too. As always, we thank everyone for your continued support of the Run Eat Drink podcast.
So we didn't have to go much further for a drink.
We were
found one
at the restaurant at Skipper Canteen. Yeah. And I will say to you that when we're not on the 75 hard, they have and I think this is not something you see as often in the Magic Kingdom restaurants proper, but they have a menu that I would want to go back and partake in terms of alcoholic beverages, even though tonight we are featuring a non-alcoholic option from their menu, because their specialty cocktails include a house-made sangria, red or white wine with spices and fruit and juice. And then there's one particularly I want to try, Jungle Navigation Company Shandy, which is a Belgian white ale mixed with lemonade. So
yeah, I love the fact that they are doing some very creative things there.
Yeah,
that are, of course, on the adult end of the spectrum. You know, like you don't see a lot of shandies on menus, truth be told, and sangria is one of those things that a lot of places just relegate to, you know, restaurants with a Spanish theme very often. So, you know, I love that. I would give those a try just on the menu descriptions alone.
It looks like they have some unique wine options, as well as there are a couple of unique beer options at this restaurant too. And typically you don't find a whole lot of alcohol in Magic Kingdom. So this looks very interesting for some people who might want a nice sit down in the Magic Kingdom and to enjoy a glass of wine or to enjoy a specialty cocktail or a beer like this Kungaloosh, I'm butchering it. Yes. Spiced Excursion Ale.
Yeah, they have some specific beers that they only serve in the areas that are kind of themed, like either the Adventureland area, or you'll also see like their Safari Amber. That's another one that tends to only get served in certain areas because of the theming.
Yeah.
And I would be very curious about that myself. But
yeah,
the non-alcoholic beverages.
Oh my, yes.
We actually, again, this tends to not be a part of the menu that we look at normally. But I think that if nothing else, I think that in our future travels at some point, or as we are going through and sampling from places from this point forward, we probably will have to try something off of the non-alcoholic section of the menus because we've actually had some real winners, and tonight is no exception.
Exactly. Now, I will tell you that the Schweitzer slush interested me. Their frozen apple juice and passion fruit topped with bursting green apple boba balls. That sounded very interesting. But
yes.
But it was not noted as a plant-based option.
And I believe that's because of the gelatin that they use for the creation of the boba balls.
I believe that's correct, yes.
So we steered clear of that one.
And instead, we had the Punchline Punch tropical fruit juices, mango puree, also available with a savory spiced rim for an extra zinger. Yes.
So
we got the Punchline Punch, and let me just tell you, it was orange in color at the table. And of course, you know us, we love spice. So like we're not going to get the spice rim. I mean, really. It's, yeah. So we got the spice rim for a little bit of chili and a little bit of sugar. And it was refreshing. The mango was delightful. And it was tropical. It was a very celebratory, vacation-y kind of beverage to me.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think that they were able to pull that off with basically fancy fruit juice.
Yeah.
This being a combination of tropical fruit juices, they tend, when you read that, they tend to be, things like mango, passion fruit, lime, and almost always pineapple.
Yeah.
Because pineapple has a very tropical flavor and feel, and it's also a very easy way to sweeten the drink.
True.
I think that it worked really well. I've said it before on the show. I'm not a huge fan of eating mango
on its own. But when you combine mango with those other flavors, I think for me, it works really, really well. Yes.
And that spice rim, I expected them to just basically do like tahini spice, and
that's what I thought too.
It was like a mixture of sugar and, did you say cayenne pepper?
I didn't specify.
I think she said either cayenne or she said chili pepper.
She said chili, I think.
Yeah, so it was a hot pepper of unknown origin, but it wasn't so hot that it wasn't Amy having, the hot sauce challenge. It wasn't that
scorpion hot. Pepper hot.
No.
Of course. Thank you, Dana. But it was good. I think it just added a little something to the drink that complemented the sweetness of the fruit juices and the mango puree.
Oh, 100%. And I think, like you said, it's a beautiful orange color. It's actually with the puree, it ended up darkening the bottom of the drink a bit more, and it's like a gradient of that bright orange and pink color.
Yeah.
It's a very pretty drink for something that's relatively simple, and flavor-wise, it just killed it. So much so that we ended up selling a couple of these to the table next to us.
We told them to get the spice rum. We told them to get the spice rum. Yes. Yes.
And they didn't regret it.
They did not. So, Skipper Canteen in the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando. A lot of plant-based options as far as food, plus unique non-alcoholic beverages to partake in as well.
You absolutely cannot miss by going to this place. Check it out. We are going to have links to everything in the show notes.
Of course.
And that includes the delicious beverage, the Punchline Punch, the food that we just talked about. And of course, we're going to link back to the race as well, for those of you that might want to check out this race, some of the official photos from it. And if you're thinking about coming down to Southwest Florida for a vacation next summer, here's a good excuse or a good thing to do while you're down here.
Yeah, come run with us. And I think that was a nice follow-up to your training with people. And I think that you're going to start that again. You're going to start a new round of training.
Yes.
With our people.
I am. And the next couple of weeks the next week or so, we'll be announcing the actual start date, but I'm going to be doing the Couch to 10K program by Jeff Galloway using the Lolo Fit app. And I'm going to be doing that as a live stream series, just like we did with Couch to 5K. So 3 days a week, I'll be doing that run in the time to be announced, but probably in the afternoon or early evening when the Florida sun is not so bad.
Weather permitting.
And, weather permitting. And then we'll be doing the long runs on Saturday mornings with everybody so they can just come along. And, if they've done that Couch to 5K and now they want to maybe progress in their training and add some distance, they can see how it works. And they're going to get to see some of the other, elements to the training program that Jeff adds in. So I'm very excited to be doing this with everybody. We got amazing feedback last time, and I hope that it inspires somebody to, get off the couch and try a little longer distance.
Yeah, come along with us.
We're going to culminate this training with a race down in Key West.
Oh, I'm so excited about that. So stay tuned for more.
Next week, we're going to be talking about another Metal Chasers 5K in the Antihero series and more from our summer trips to Disney, including a great vegan breakfast option from Ale and Compass.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for that one. Y'all are going to love it.
If you're looking for a free way to support the show, head over to Apple Podcasts on any Apple device or iTunes on your PC and give us a rating or review, a rating and a review. We so appreciate the support in helping to grow the Runcation Nation in this way. It's a free way. You go over to Apple Podcasts, give us a rating and review so we know what you like about the show, and the more reviews and the more ratings we have, the more people find us in Apple Podcasts.
It's all about their algorithm, and the more recent the reviews, the more likely we're to be shown to other people. So if you'll head over there, give us 2 minutes of your time, 5 stars, tell us what you like about it, tell us what we can improve. We would really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening, for joining us on your long run, your commute to work, around the house, wherever you are. I'm your host, Amy.
And I'm your co-host, Dana.
Stay safe, stay well, and we will accomplish, explore, and indulge with you really soon. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Run, Eat, Drink podcast. We're having another great year thanks to your support. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We're at Run, Eat, Drink Podcast. And on Twitter,
We're Run, Eat, Drink Pod. You can also give us a call at 941-677-2733 or send us an email at info@runeatdrink.net. Visit our website at runeatdrink.net and click on the subscribe link so you don't miss a minute. Find out how you can support the show at patreon.com/runeatdrinkpodcast. Accomplish, explore, and indulge right along with us. We'll talk to you next time.